or head to globalplayer.com. Coming up at 1 on LBC, it's Clive Bull, but right now, 'tis Nick Abbott.
Thanks, Natasha. The country's politicians and newspapers are having a predictable patriotism contest to see who loves the England women's football team the most. The press are calling for a bank holiday and for plane loads of ministers and royals to fly out and support our gals, which is interesting because up to now they haven't shown any interest at all in the women's game compared to the orgy of coverage about every single kick, foul and offside decision that accompanies the male game. Almost like they're jumping on the bandwagon. In other news, filthy, sewage-filled rivers in this country are expected to fail their upcoming tests, so the government did what you would expect and cancelled the tests. Problem solved. And the Education Department's latest line is that education isn't that important. And if you didn't see that coming, you haven't been paying attention, you get an F. See me after class.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. From Global's newsroom at 10 o'clock, lawyers representing families of some of the babies attacked by Lucy Ledby say an inquiry needs to look at why hospital executives prioritise reputation above child safety. They're being accused of not listening to the concerns of staff at the Countess of Chester Hospital, where the 33-year-old nurse worked. Managers say they will cooperate fully with the inquiry. Scarlett Maguire is a former communications advisor to the Labour Party and has told LBC lessons must be learned.
Anybody can make a mistake, right? I mean, you know, the best trained doctor, the best trained nurse, they can always make a mistake. No system is completely foolproof. We can't invent it. But what we have to say is this is a mistake and try and remedy it instead of covering it up.
Part of a police officer's notebook which fell from a moving car in Northern Ireland has now been recovered, but there are still missing sections which contain the details of 42 officers and staff. Also this evening, it's emerged a 50-year-old man has been charged following the major police data breach involving the PSNI and its officers and staff. A Russian missile attack has killed 7 people, including a 6-year-old girl in northern Ukraine. A theatre was targeted in the city of Chernihiv, which was hosting a meeting of drone manufacturers. The editor of Lviv Today, Luke Rini, has told LBC the Kremlin is choosing to target cities with little significance purely because the capital, Kyiv, is now protected by a missile shield.
They hit Lutsk, which is not even a couple of hours north of me here in Lviv, within the last week. They hit Lviv here a few days ago, which is the third time in the last 6 weeks. They hit Dnipro a little while ago, almost killed an Olympian of ours out there, knocked out power for 10,000 people. These are centers that are nowhere near the front line.
It's believed Pakistani police are looking to arrest a man in connection with the death of his 10-year-old daughter in the UK. Sarah Sharif was found dead at her home in Woking in Surrey. Police in the UK say the girl's father flew to Pakistan the day before. And in sport this evening, England's men's manager Gareth Southgate has sent his best wishes to the women's team on social media ahead of tomorrow's World Cup final. Spain stand in the way of Serena Vigman's side, adding the trophy to the European Championship title, which they won last year. Earlier in the Premier League today, Liverpool came from behind to beat Bournemouth 3-1. Brighton were 4-1 winners away at Wolves, and Brentford defeated Fulham 3-0. LBC weather, showers over northwestern Scotland and also in western parts of England and Wales tonight. Drier elsewhere though, with a low of 12 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Tim Daly. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Oh, hello.
Well, let's get back to it.
Texts and tweets from last night, of which there aren't that many. In fact, 2. I was very, very good last night. I managed to get through them all. I might not get through this show. Ian texts, keep at it. Feeding the wildlife is your first step. I was talking about feeding the birds. Tuppence a bag. Actually, it's 25 quid a bag. But you know me, I never complain.
Stop whining.
He says, get to know your visitors. If they obviously like sunflower seeds, give them sunflower seeds. Put your mixed feed elsewhere and repeat. Do you like jellied eels, he says. I've left them out for you. Eat up its food. No, it isn't. Jellied eels? Why would anybody put that in their mouth? Mystifying. 0345 6060973. Well, we find out that a little bit of a kicking works. The Foreign Secretary... Oh, that should be a pop quiz. Foreign Secretary. Anybody? Anybody at all? The Foreign Secretary is flying to Australia to cheer on the Lionesses, despite once admitting that he's not particularly knowledgeable about football. But at least he's a man. So he'll be able to explain football to those plucky ladies who are representing England in the World Cup between ironing and cooking the dinner. James Cleverly, that's who it is. The proof that nominative determinism is not a thing. James Cleverly will attend the Women's World Cup final in Sydney tomorrow instead of the Prime Minister and Prince William. But James Cleverly, whom aides claim is a big Arsenal fan, has previously suggested he prefers rugby.
What?
So either his aides are lying to try and kid on that he's interested in football, or James Cleverly is lying to kid on that he isn't. Which is it? Spoiler alert, he went to private school, so rugby would have been the game.
Correct.
Yeah, not football. Not that it seems like much of a game to me, rugby. I mean, at the professional level, it's just a bunch of steroidal freaks running into each other. But what do I know? I skipped games at school to skive the afternoon away in a cafe with the lads, listening to Play That Funky Music, White Boy, on a jukebox, and talking about getting a David Bowie haircut.
Rock and roll!
In the 2006 blog, titled rather, I'm not particularly knowledgeable about football, clue is in the title. He said, shock revelation for someone involved in politics. I know I am more of a rugby bloke. What? Yeah. Not really so much of a shock. He's a Tory. He went to private school. Private schools regard football as being common. That's what the comprehensive school oiks play. Very non-you, Bodge?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Ahead of the match, which he will be attending with the Culture Secretary, Lucy Fraser, as in the sentence, who is Lucy Fraser? James Cleverly said the following: all eyes are on Sydney this Sunday. This is an amazing moment to celebrate the very best of women's international sport with Australia and New Zealand as our brilliant tournament hosts. Everyone back home is behind the Lionesses for their first appearance ever in a World Cup final, and I will be there in person to cheer them on. Hurrah! Why? Why is that important? Why does the Foreign Secretary, in the middle of a European war, with China threatening to start another war in Asia, and with us at home in peril of having our lives upended by forces including but not limited to terrorism and climate change, why does the actual blooming Foreign Secretary feel the need to add to the thousands of people cheering in the stands in Sydney? I mean, is his voice so loud and sonorous that it will provide the key to unlocking an England win? Is he a talisman, perhaps, a lucky charm so potent that his mere presence will lift the spirit of our gals and propel them to victory? Or is it just that the right-wing press have got themselves into a tizzy at the success of women's football, which they have so far failed to show a scintilla of interest in, and now they're throwing themselves on the bandwagon that left without them and yelling at the government to do something and send whatever minister is not on holiday, and Mr. Integrity is apart from that, he's all out of ideas. Don't despair, ladies. Mr. Integrity is 110% on it.
I am totally 100% on it.
OK, just 100% on it. Bit gutting there, somewhat sick as a parrot to hear that. Feels like we've been robbed, but I expect that he is doing his best.
I'm gripping it.
He's gripping it. It comes amid a sexism row over why Fishy Sunak and the Prince of Wales are not going to watch the final. Why should they? What's the point? Opposition MPs have suggested that if the men's team were playing, senior figures wouldn't have hesitated to fly out. Yeah, that's because senior figures are interested in men's football and would quite enjoy the VIP freebie experience of attending one of the world's most famous spectacles. Prince William is president of the Football Association, and he's come under pressure to attend. But so they racked their brains to try to come up with some excuse. And what they came up with was that the cost of the trip and the carbon footprint were cited as reasons for the prince not to go. I mean, this is a carbon footprint, different, apparently, to the one that he will create when he flies to New York soon to attend a climate conference. And also different to the carbon footprint that he and his family cause by heating and cleaning and staffing their various cottages, houses, manors, estates, halls, palaces and castles. He's frugal, you know. I heard he once turned off a light when he left the room, and his wife once wore a dress twice.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, your majesties. So naturally they had to come up with some reason why he isn't going to slog all the way over to the other side of the planet for a game he could easily watch on TV at home. So palace sources said it might be considered tactless for William to go to Sydney to publicly cheer England when they knocked Australia out of the tournament. So that's it. He can't go because he's too polite. I mean, do they have work experience doing the press releases at the Palace now? I mean, I know it's August, but come on. And the perfumed princeling of Downing Street, he isn't going either. Number 10 said the length of the flight meant that Mr. Sunak would not be able to make the match due to existing government business commitments. The commitments to saying things that aren't true so many times, he thinks that we'll eventually believe him.
This government will have integrity, professionalism and accountability at every level.
Yeah, we're still not believing you. Do you want to say it again?
This government
will...
will...
OK, thanks. Mr. Speaker. A source said that Fishy Sunak will be cheering the Lionesses on from Yorkshire. Yeah, I bet he doesn't. He'll have his people tweet something congratulatory if they win, or commiserations if they lose. And if they win, of course, they'll get invited to number 10, and Fishy will want his picture taken with them, and he'll co-opt their success and try to boost his chances of winning the next election. And I bet that every single one of those women will absolutely hate it. But they'll have to go along with it, because if they don't, then the press are going to have a field day yelling at them that they don't love their country. But what's wrong with me tonight? I can't read anything. Liberal Democrat MP Munira Wilson told the Mail, "You can't help but suspect that if it was the England men's team playing in the final, it would likely be a very different story." Oh, good point there, Liberal Democrat MP Munira Wilson. Labour MP Kate Osborne said, "We all know that if this was the men's final, Sunak and the FA President Prince William would be in attendance no matter how long the flight." Yeah, and that's probably true. But why would that be better? What difference will it make if they're there or not? And it doesn't reflect well on the Lib Dems or the Labour Party that they're bothering to engage in this ridiculous "I support England more than you do" game. I mean, the reason it's not such a big deal is because it's not such a big deal, any more than the FIFA Under-17 World Cup is a big deal. I mean, boys under 17 are people too, you know. Why don't they get any publicity? I bet there's just as much skill involved. So it's not that. It's that it's not the World Cup. And do you know who won the Under-17 World Cup last time? No. Of course you don't. Do you know who won the Under-17 World Cup the time before that? Well, it was England. Do you recall the parades, the photo calls, the ecstasy in the newspapers? No, because it barely registered, despite the fact that England beat Spain in the final 5-2 in 2017. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Are you trying to tell me that this is your act?
Yes, sadly, this is all I have. Archie texts, the seal lying on the beach in England got the Brexit treatment. Push off somewhere else. I have no idea what that means. It was a seal, you say? Go on, get out of it. I missed that story completely. Never mind. Ahmed says, I was astonished to hear the Sunaks paid £12,000 for a meal the other day. I wonder if they need to visit 30p Lee so he can advise them on cutting down on the cost of their food bill. I bet they've never even spoken. I bet the perfumed princeling in number 10 has never even spoken to 30p Lee Anderson. I bet they've not exchanged one single word. I bet they've never been in the same room with each other. Not the perfumed princeling sort of person. And he, Fishy, would never visit 30p Lee. If 30p Lee visited Fishy Sunak's place, then Rishi Sunak would tell him to stay in the garden and sleep in the kennel. Jason says, that's an actual fact. Jason says, and why was he employed in the first place? Because I imagine that the perfume princeling thinks that all common people are like Lee Anderson. I imagine it's pretty much something like that. He's never met a working class person in his life, never been in the same place with them. And the proof of that is that when he did actually meet one on camera, a homeless person, he asked him if he was in business. That's the person who's running this country. Can you believe that?
No.
Jason says, not liking or understanding football is perfectly consistent with supporting Arsenal. Oh, don't start. 0345 6060 973. Chingford. Hello, John.
Oh, hi, Nick. Just a bit of a holdover from last night. We were talking about passenger pigeons.
Yeah.
The fella said that the last surviving passenger pigeon was called Marvin. That's actually a fact.
What is a passenger pigeon?
Oh, well, passenger pigeons, sadly for them, they were delicious to eat, and they were hunted to extinction in America. And there's a very good song about passenger pigeons.
Catch the pigeon, catch the pigeon.
No, not catch the pigeon. There's a very good song by a guy called John Herald, who's part of the early folk revival in the 60s, but he wrote a very good song called Passenger Pigeons.
Folk music?
Boring. No, it's all about Martha, and it's a real choker.
Right, Martha.
If your listeners care to Google,
yeah, they definitely won't be doing that anytime soon. No.
John
what's the difference between a pigeon?
Pigeons.
What is the difference between a pigeon and a passenger pigeon?
The passenger, I think they were plumper and more like chickens, I suppose. But they were good eating, and sadly, and the last one, Martha, ended up in
their own fault for being so delicious.
Exhibit,
Yeah. All right, excellent work. Thanks a lot, John. I have no idea what that was about. Ollie says, "What's wrong with diesel Jaguars?" Well, this is from last night. Are these from last night?
No, that one's from today.
It's from today. So this is, right, maybe Ollie has been hit in the head and he's reacting 24 hours late to something we were talking about yesterday. He says, what's wrong with diesel Jaguars? In response to something I said, last night on last night's show. He said, would you rather walk everywhere in the ULEZ zone? This ULEZ nonsense is a ridiculous money-making scheme by Khan, and you just can't see it, says Ollie. It's not a ridiculous money-making scheme by Khan. What do you think he's doing with the cash? Do you think he's just pocketing it and running away? The amount of stuff that I hear on this subject, or just people who deny climate change, it's a thing, because the two are connected, that they just deny it, and the evidence is all around you, and as the evidence piles up, they're having to shout ever louder to, I imagine, convince themselves that they're right. Climate change will not affect you if you don't believe in science. 0345 6060 973. East Grinstead, Cameron.
Hello, Nick.
Yes, sir.
Is that a good line? Is that all right? Yeah, I'm a first-time caller, so I just thought I'd ring up as a younger person to say how much I appreciate Gillian Keegan in her efforts on education. What was that? I mean, I suppose...
That's what I was thinking from the moment you started to speak, Cameron. What is this?
What is it? Well, I suppose it's a great skill for a politician to be able to look like they're reassuring somebody while doing the complete opposite. But,
right, you're talking about Gillian Keegan, who, believe it or not, is the Education Secretary, and she was implying that education isn't that important.
That's right. Well, she's tipped. She's one of the top people, I gather, to be the next, to be the replacement for Rishi Sunak after the election. Would you believe it?
Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I bet you that homeless person that Rishi Sunak asked whether he was in business or not, didn't get very good A-level grades, and that's partly why he's in the position in which he is.
Well, the reason that he is in the position that he is because he failed to take the precaution to be born to rich parents.
Well, that as well, obviously, and Rishi Sunak and the like. More often than not, went to Oxford and got pretty good A-level grades.
It doesn't really matter whether they got good A-level grades or not. They won the lottery of life before they were born.
No, exactly. It is frustrating, but hey, that's the country we live in. And if you live long enough, then you might see it get better. Fingers crossed, Cameron. All right, thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Small increments, one step at a time. It might get better and better. Just never know. It could. It's inconceivable that it could get worse. Well, it could, I suppose. We could be on fire. Tom texts. So, Rishi Sunak spends more on a meal out than some people earn in a year and produces more carbon in one day than the average person produces in 1 year. Can you believe that some people still believe this man has their best interests at heart? No, I can't believe that. I think it's the same thing with climate change. I think people are having to yell ever louder in an attempt to convince themselves that they're right. There must be this gnawing at them that all the evidence is mounting up to the point that it's really hard to maintain the belief that A, the regime has your best interests at heart, and B, there is no such thing as climate change. It must be getting more difficult by the day, unless they just flat out disbelieve the evidence that they see with their own eyes. That's the only explanation I can find. Edward says, who wants to watch football when we can watch Judy? Judy? What's Judy? Judy. Well, he's written it twice. Judy. What's Judy? Not, because there used to be a TV show in the morning called Richard and Judy. Oh, Judge Judy. Judge Judy? Here's a message from next door. Well, he's written Judy. There used to be a Richard and Judy, didn't there?
They did, yeah.
Yeah, has Richard undergone a transformation? And now it's Judy? He says, plenty of own goals scored from those who participate in their 5 minutes of fame. The second part of Edward's message makes even less sense than the first. But it fits right in on this show. Kyle says, I don't think we should have a monarchy, but I do think it's a bit odd that the president of all of the footballs in England isn't there to see an England team in a World Cup final. I'd expect to see him at the Under-17 World Cup final too. Yeah, I bet he wasn't there either. Never mind whether he's there or not. What difference does it make? You think that the girls are going to be trying ever harder if one of their majesties is in the stadium? Please. 0345 6060 973. And it does, the Queen, most people liked the Queen. Most people were in awe of her pastoral fabulousness. But it's a bit difficult to think of Wills and as majesties, isn't it? A little bit, yeah. It almost seems silly to say it out loud. Brighton, hello, Ben.
Oh, hi, Nick. Thank you so much for taking the call. I don't want to talk about the rights and wrongs of whether there should be somebody more important than James Cleverly going out, but I do think it does illustrate how fundamentally this lot have once again misread the room, because the whole country is genuinely behind the team. And
I don't know. Hang on, though, Ben.
Really, honestly, all my mates tomorrow, we're all going out. You know, I'm a bouncer for crying out loud. Now, I hardly represent the wokerati. We're all going out and watching this stuff, yeah? So I do think they've misread the room. I do think that loads and loads of people are really, really interested. And once again, precisely because you're led by someone who goes out for £12,000 meals...
Yeah.
He just didn't understand that actually the country was interested. So all of a sudden, hastily, they've sent along this pillock cleverly, who, as you rightly point out, doesn't give a monkeys about football. I mean, look, I'm a Chelsea supporter. I'm probably more supportive of Arsenal than he is as a Chelsea supporter.
Yeah.
That's how little he cares about Arsenal.
I just don't buy that the whole country is on the edge of their seats, as it would be if it were the World Cup final. I just don't buy it. I think people are trying to overcompensate. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. I think that people are trying to overcompensate because up to now they've had zero interest in the women's game.
I think that's absolutely true, but I do think that this would help enormously. I mean, look, the Spanish are sending out Queen Letizia, which is quite a big deal, right? So they're sending out their own queen. Yeah. We could, you could pop Kate on an aeroplane, couldn't you?
But why? What's the point?
I mean, she's always on an aeroplane. What is the point? The point is, I think, particularly for the government, and it would look as if they were taking an interest in what we're taking an interest in. And at the moment, they're singularly failing.
Right, so pretending. You would prefer that they spent a lot of our money to pretend to be interested in the things that we are?
For their own sake, I think that might be a very good idea, yeah.
Right.
I really do.
Okay,
I think for their own sake, that might be a good thing. I don't know. Look, for my sake, I really couldn't care less, yeah? But I do think they've misread the room.
Well, if you present yourself to number 10 first thing Monday morning, they'll put you on their campaign team, Ben. I just don't buy it. I don't buy that the country is as interested as some certain elements are pretending. And the evidence is that they've never shown the slightest bit of interest before. And if the women's game is so important, then what about the under-17s game? Because that is the feed through to the adult men's game. Now, if England can win the under-17 World Cup in 2017, then that shows great prospect for the future. So you think that we as a country would be celebrating that more, but we couldn't care less because it's not the final. It's a final. It's like when the Olympics comes to town. When the Olympics comes to town, you suddenly have an interest in every sport under the sun that has the 5 rings appended to it. I mean, blimey, I even sat through a basketball game.
Boring!
I mean, okay, it was the only thing I could get tickets for, but even so, I actually paid money to see a basketball game. Couldn't have been more dull. If it hadn't been in the Olympics, there is no way I would have been sitting there. You couldn't have paid me to attend that event. So there are certain things that just become bigger by association with the past, and women's football does not have, in most people's minds, a great history to it. That's the reason why it's, for most people, not as important, certainly not as important at all as the World Cup or even the Premier League. I bet there's more people watch Match of the Day tonight than watch the game tomorrow. 0345. So, but you can't say that kind of thing. That is the sort of thing that you're not allowed to say because it makes you unpatriotic. Nonsense. No, it doesn't. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC. It's 10:30, the news headlines with Tim Daly.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet @LBC. Text 84850.
Hot H-O-T-A-I-R.
Albert texts, the Lionesses have done okay without Prince William and the PM, but when we win, they will soon get involved and rub shoulders just to look patriotic. Well, it's not to look patriotic, it's to see if some of that success will rub off on them, particularly the perfumed princeling in number 10. desperate to get his photograph taken with them if they win. Of course he will be. They'll get invited around to number 10 for that specific purpose in mind. And he'll pretend he's interested in them by, asking them if they've come far and are they in business. What's in your share portfolio, you'll ask them. But yeah, if they lose, then the interest will be at zero. But if they win, then absolutely everyone will want their picture taken with them. Hackney, hello, Richard.
Hello, Nick. Yeah, that guy Ollie who posted the thing to you about why can't he drive his diesel Jaguar?
Yeah.
And you were saying, well, it's just from yesterday. You realise he's been sitting there fuming for the last 24 hours, going my diesel Jaguar, my diesel, why can't I? Why? And he's posted it into you tonight. He's just outraged. I think when Sadiq runs for mayor next time, his slogan should be, I can and I will.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway.
I can and I will what?
Well, whatever he likes, basically. Certainly as far as Ulysses is concerned. But Prince William, we were talking about Prince William, whether he should go to see the Lionesses. I mean, as head of state or future head of state, perhaps not. But as president of the FA, don't you think it's kind of... So he's only president of the men's FA then?
Yeah, well, I bet when he accepted that job, and what the hell does he know about football, by the way? Didn't he go to Eton? They don't do football at Eton. And neither, I bet, did they do football at the university that he went to. Why has he got anything to do with FIFA? I mean, not FIFA, the FA.
Well, the thing, I've been reading Twitter, and people are saying things if he's... I know. Well...
Big mistake. Huge.
I tell you, it's much quicker to read Twitter these days because there's virtually no one on it anymore. I mean, it's like a 5-minute glance.
That's not true. What are the alternatives? Because I would be prepared to try an alternative as long as it didn't involve any work.
I get the feeling that this is everybody is kind of deciding what it's like. There seem to be 3 or 4 candidates, and people are grouping, and everyone's saying, what are you going to? Where are you going to? Is it Threads? Is it Mastodon? Is it Blue Sky? And sooner or later, someone will put something out which is there you go. That's what you want, and we'll all go to it.
Yeah, my glamorous assistant next door just said Truth Social with a question mark, and I think Truth Social should always come with a question mark.
Don't be rude.
Exactly.
Yeah, take him out into the back alley, have the global team, just quietly get rid of him, and then replace him
with a robot.
Affirmative.
Yeah, quite right.
But the idea that, people are saying that William should be sacked as president of the FA because he's not prepared to go out and support the women's branch of the FA.
Yeah.
And I think that would be tragic because he's worked so hard to get to where he is.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, up from the bottom.
As a small child, he had the posters on his wall, and then he went and he volunteered for the FA. He was making
had to pass an exam. Yeah, everything.
He was getting his name known. He was meeting and greeting.
Yeah.
People would say, "What do you want to do?" He'd say, "I want to be president of the FA," and they'd laugh.
They'd laugh because he was the T-boy at the time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But you can see why, I suppose, his regal duties just don't allow him. I mean, he has
so much to do. Yeah.
I mean, what's he doing tomorrow? I'm sure he's doing things.
I don't know.
Things.
Waving to a flunky, something like that.
Very important things tomorrow.
Yeah. Stuff. No end of stuff.
And very important stuff.
Yeah. Looking over the Fabergé collection, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean...
Picking out a brooch for Kate, busy.
Yeah, exactly. He's just... So I think we could cut him a little bit of slack.
Sure.
Because he is serving an essential purpose. And
as soon as you find out what that is, Richard, I want you to let me know straight away. All right. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Albert says, no, read that. Josh says, I used to skive off rugby at school too. I was never hunted down by the PE teacher, though. I think he was quite thankful, as I had the physique of Billy Casper. Who's Billy Casper? Is that the ghost? Martin says, Titchy Sunak asking a homeless man what business he was in isn't such a daft question. Most homeless people spend their day reading the Financial Times to check how the market is doing. Well, they might sleep under the Financial Times. 0345 6060 973. Maidstone. Hello, Joan.
Hello there.
Joan, hello there.
Is that Nick?
Yes, Joan.
I tell you what, you have a big responsibility tonight. All of us have.
Yes.
We must congratulate all those who came for their results today. Whether they've got past as they wanted or not, the fact is they have stuck through it all, chasing their dreams, going past all this sort of gerrymandering with the government. You know, 3 years ago they were twisting the results and doing all sorts of stuff with figures instead of thinking of them as youngsters who are eager to fight for their dreams.
Well, this Conservative government they fashioned a computer program that benefited those in private school over those in state schools. Who could possibly have seen that coming?
But what I really want us to do is to congratulate everyone and say they are bound to be a success in the future, whatever their exam results.
Well, not necessarily.
No, I disagree with that, because they have come through such an ordeal.
Yeah.
They have stuck to their dreams, that they have, carried on regardless.
Yes, they've tried to remember a lot of facts that they then regurgitate, like parrot fashion, in a 1 or 2 hour exam, which will set them up in life for absolutely nothing whatsoever, because they'll never be under those circumstances again. Trying to remember facts rather than just look them up, Joan.
2003, they should be congratulated.
This is the year 2003, and they should be congratulated.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. 2003. Yeah.
The class.
Doesn't time fly when you're out of your mind? Yeah, quite right. All right, thanks a lot, Joan. Appreciate it. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, the message to kids everywhere, it doesn't matter whether your results are good or bad, you will be a success in life. Not necessarily. Some people will be. Some people are a success in life before they've even been born. Some people get born to rich parents and then spend the rest of their life bewailing and bemoaning people who weren't born to rich parents for a lack of initiative in their regard.
My view.
Him, for instance. Jim says, the reason for this sudden interest in women's football is that somebody has reasoned that there's money to be... There's money to be made of it. That's right. Nobody I know is the least bit interested in the women's game, says Jim. Football has ceased to be a sport many years ago. It's now pure corporate finance. Don't be daft, Jim. I mean, there's no amount of money in it. That's true. But it's still a sport. Of course it is. I mean, just because they're wearing adverts on their shirts doesn't mean to say that the skill involved is any less. And there has been zero interest in the women's game until now, when there's like a sort of tripping point of interest, which then transfers itself or draws in money, which is what this is actually all about. When there's a certain amount of money to be made, then corporations get interested. And when corporations get interested, then they start to advertise it. And when they advertise it, then the press gets interested. And that's where we are today. It's all about the money, honey. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Feltham. John.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Yeah.
Yes. Hello?
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 Yeah.
Yes, John.
Yeah.
Yes.
About the Prince and the Prime Minister not going there?
About the football and the Prime Minister not going there, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the biggest amount of fans was an FA final, 45,000. But in the Women's Super League, Europe's only, looking at the BBC website, Europe's only fully professional women's division. Chelsea and Manchester City enjoy the biggest crowds, averaging 1,864 and £1,409 respectively. In France, the most supported team gets £1,428 on average. In Germany, the biggest supported team gets £1,689.
Right.
And that's why they didn't go.
Well, no, that's not why they didn't go. I don't know where you're reading all that from, but it sounds about right. If they're not going to get 60,000 people week in, week out, are they? In a major event like this, then yes, they could pack out Wembley Stadium, sure. The reason that they're interested
proves that very few people are interested in women's football, doesn't it?
Well,
you only got 186 for.
Being interested and actually going to the game is two different things. I mean, people sit home and watch it on TV. That's why there is so much money in the men's game. Television, specifically. It's not showing up at the gate. It's watching it on telly. That's where the money is. And if they can get a TV audience, then companies will start to show it on TV. And I'm not talking about the national teams. I'm talking about the leagues. But not yet. Not enough. That's right. All right, thanks, John. 0345 way too many numbers for me.
And 2. 6 million.
6 million numbers. Way too many. 0345 6060 973.
Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Hello. Number please. Trying to connect you. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Yes, sorry to keep you waiting. Golders Green. John.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, sir.
Before I just get to Dishy Rishi and our Prince of Wales, the gentleman that said that the average attendance is whatever it is, therefore no one's interested in football. The FA are predicting that the average attendance of the Women's Super League this year will be 6,000, and the average attendance of Division 2 League last season was 3,800, and in League 1 was just over 10,000. So watch this space. I think that in a very short order, you'll be getting Women's Super League average attendances bigger than both those two leagues. Now, moving to Dishy Rishi, we are apparently sending a lady called Lucy Fraser, who's a cabinet minister responsible for sports policy. I didn't actually know we had a cabinet minister responsible for sports policy.
Yeah.
And I don't really understand, do we have a policy on whether we need to support the women in the FA Cup?
I believe she's also the Minister for Culture, and I'm not sure that the government supports that either.
I didn't even know we had a policy on whether we need to support women in the World Cup final. But we're sending her out. She flew out on Wednesday.
Great.
And apparently our Foreign Secretary, James Cleverly, flew out on Friday. So that's 2 flights.
Yeah.
Which is approximately, if my math, the carbon footprint that Dishy Rishi would have to take if he flew out on I presume these people are going commercial, although it wouldn't surprise me if they took a private jet as well.
I would be surprised if they didn't.
Okay, well, then we're using twice the carbon footprint to send this lady, who I've never heard of,
no,
and no one else has, on a Wednesday, and our foreign secretary, on a Friday.
Of course, they won't be flying coach either. They'll be up the front in first, where they will have as much room as 3 or 4 people at the back of the plane. So each person on the plane has a different carbon footprint. But never mind. It's the cost of it. It's just how silly it is. The papers are screaming at them to do something because the papers have decided that this is a bandwagon that they want to jump on now, and the government are so desperate for approval that they said, oh, okay then, let's send I don't know who's not on holiday. You can go.
But Nick, here's a good one. Am I still on? Here's a good one. Am I still on the phone?
Yeah.
With you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we won the European Championship 2 years ago, and since that day, we've either been favourites or second favourites for the World to win the World Cup. It's not a huge surprise that we are in the World Cup final, and it's something that could have been planned for because we knew the date of the World Cup final 2 years ago. However,
right, but why is it important? Why is the Women's World Cup final important, but the Under-17 World Cup final completely unimportant?
Question, but I can tell you that the Prime Minister said he would love to be there, but he had unavoidable diary commitments because of the war in Ukraine and some other things that are happening with the wider economy. And here's the kicker in terms of the way this country plans. Here's the kicker. There are a lot of people that would like to have a drink in a pub before the match. Okay? And the current policy is ministers have called on local councils to do their best to allow pubs to open early for the game. However, most pubs will be unable to serve alcohol until 11 at the earliest, possibly until midday. We can apply to the council for a temporary event notice to vary hours, but that takes 5 working days to process.
Oh, my God, somebody's actually going to have to watch a football game without the benefit of alcohol.
Booze.
I mean, can you imagine the horror?
And the only way to relax licensing laws is to require the consent of Parliament, but they're currently on holiday.
They're on holiday, yeah, that's absolutely perfect. There's a hole in my bucket, dear Liza, dear Liza. All right, well spotted. Thanks a lot, John. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, Rishi Sunak can't come because, the war in Ukraine. Plus, he's in the line for the space ride at Disney World. Doesn't want to give up his space. Beverly emails, I am tired of people blaming Sadiq Khan for the introduction of the ULEZ. Most people conveniently forget that it was Blobby Johnson who introduced the scheme, and it was Grant Bloomin' who more or less blackmailed Khan by telling him if he didn't continue with its introduction, he would stop money going to Transport for London. I know the scheme is going to hit people hard, and a better form of compensation needs to be forthcoming, but people's health is more important, and the present scheme has proved to be of benefit, especially for children, says Beverly. Yeah, why the Labour Party is owning that, I don't know. It's the Tory idea, insisted on by the Tories and invented by the Tories. But the Labour Party just seems to be... I don't know what's going on with them. It's really mystifying. They're the ditto party. Yeah, whatever the Tories just said, we agree. But it seems to be working for them, remarkably enough. So far. 0345 6060 973. Let's have, Oldbury, Ranjit.
You okay?
Yes, good, thanks. Have you been frying tonight?
Yes, we have.
Is your shop festooned with England flags?
Yes, it is.
Is that true?
It's true. We've had them up since the coronation. We never took them down.
Right.
Yeah. Right. To get interest in the England women's team, if the Saudis was to say, well, we're thinking of giving each one of them a Rolls Royce, yeah, you'd have Rishi Sunak's towel and ears right up in the air because it's an investment into this country. So it's all about the money, right?
Why would the Saudis give our women's team a Rolls Royce each?
Yeah, because they want to punch us in the nose, yeah, right? People like you and me to say money can buy anything. We can do anything with our human rights, and we can get your politicians, right, to jump up and down when we throw money at them.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the basic principle of where this country is going wrong. Without going too much into the politics, Sunak has invited the Saudi prince or whatever his name is over here.
What he's invited over is a huge pile of money, irrespective of who is actually representing that huge pile of money. That is what we've rolled the red carpet out for, money.
Yeah. Now, what's happened, all the best players in the Premier League have gone to Saudi Arabia.
Can you imagine? Not true.
One, okay.
A couple.
Yeah, okay, one or two, they've gone. Okay, money talks now. People go, as soon as you put the spondulics in front of people, right, they soon change their principles, right? Yeah. And, most of the times, if the Royals are unavailable, they normally send somebody junior, don't they, right? So, obviously, he can't send Prince George. He could have asked his Uncle Andy to
Prince
go over
who?
there.
Who's Prince George?
That's William's son, isn't he?
Is it?
Yeah. Anyway, could have sent Randy Andy over to watch the match on behalf of him.
No. No, definitely not, Ranjit. No.
He could have been an ambassador, you know.
Sure,
but the thing is now the checkbook that if there was any kind of slanderous behaviour, the checkbook's no longer available now, isn't it? You know, like if you need to write another cheque for £12 million or whatever, it's not going to happen.
Well, he's a very generous man. He gives large sums of money to people he's never met. I mean, what a guy! What a guy! I don't know why so many people are down on him.
I know. I mean, can you imagine if he sent you a cheque for £12 million? What would you do?
I would say
thank you.
I'd run to the bank and exchange it straight away before he changes his mind.
Yeah, but you know, it's like everything else, right? Now, at the moment, right, they're saying everybody's on holiday.
Yeah.
Well, they could have sent Nadine Dorries, but at least we would have known where she was, you know?
Yeah, you'd have to find her first.
And she could be one of the subs, right, because she's a bit of a blonde, blonde hair. But generally...
Wait, what's the hair got to do with it?
Well, a lot of the girls in the England team are blonde, aren't they?
That's the first thing you noticed, I see. Mm-hmm.
Well, no, there's other things that I noticed, but I can't... I think that's why I said Prince Andrew might notice them a bit better than I would. Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, what I'm trying to say to you, money talks, Nick, right? With money, these people can do anything that they want, right? To Sunak at the moment, right? He's got a busy schedule.
Yeah,
right,
sure he does.
Right,
Yeah.
so he says. He's been to America. He's been everywhere. Yes, he's entitled to a holiday, but don't give us any BS, please. Right? Just say I'm not interested. I don't
Exactly. I'm not interested. I don't want to go. Why can't they just say that?
Say it. Yeah, but I'm sending my subs in. You know, James Cleverly. Who is he when he's not at home?
That is an excellent question. Who the hell's James Cleverly when he's at home? All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Ranjit. Why can't they just say it? I am not interested in women's football. Just say it out loud. But they won't because everyone's in a patriotism contest. Whoa, don't love women's football? Whoa, you don't love your country then, do you? Please. It's just so desperate. Well, throwing themselves on a bandwagon that they previously showed zero interest in. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Hello, boys.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
So Manchester City won and lost at the same time. And in other news, Big Ben struck 13. Rob texts, any president of the FA who can't be bothered to attend the World Cup final should be sacked. Prince William should be removed as president of the Football Association as he is not interested in football. Right. Yeah, I bet he has zero interest in football. He didn't play football as a kid because of the schools that he went to, and I bet he didn't play football at uni because of the university that he went to. Well, where does the interest in football come in? Mind you, it's just one of the, no doubt, 1,000 or more institutions that he is the president or titular head of. Charities included. I bet if you asked him to sit down and write out a list of the organisations that he was the head of, he wouldn't be able to give you a complete list. Pam says, I wish football fans would realise that the majority of people have no interest at all in any football match. Wow. That's offensive. 0345 6060 973. Holland Park. Hello, Nick.
Hello.
Nick.
Yes.
Yes, Nick.
Oh, hello, Nick. Sorry, I was a bit confused there. Especially after the break, are we ranting about ULEZ, Prince William, or Crown Prince bins for the money?
Are we ranting? I don't know. What would you like to rant about?
Oh, let's do Prince William, shall we? Your texter stole my thunder. Of course, Prince William's got no interest in football. Obviously, and you're right, he has never played football. He's never voluntarily been to a football match. I was going to say the inexplicable thing is how the stuffed suits of the Football Association managed to make him president. But what you can picture is them sitting around the board table thinking, now, who could we make president that would give us all CBEs and OBEs? Let's think, guys. Who's that going to be?
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the thing I haven't heard anyone else. Here's the thing I haven't heard anyone else say, Nick. There's another reason why the Palace and William, apart from he's not interested, would never send him on a plane out to watch the World Cup final because he would be roundly booed by the crowd, and that would be a bad optic for the future king.
In Australia, yeah, perhaps.
Absolutely. They're rabid Republicans, and look at the.
Well, I think that might be overstretching a little bit. Rabid Republicans. I think there's a majority maybe of Republican feeling in Australia.
But look at the way they meted out. It's quite a bit of abuse and chanting against the English in the semi-final. So I think there's a bit of bad blood there.
Who was doing the abuse?
The Australians.
Australians, right.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I just wanted to, while we're talking about people who don't know anything about football and take an interest, your newsreader, you're quite right, said Manchester City beat Newcastle and lost to Tottenham.
And lost at the same time.
Just in case people in the Gulf states are falling off their chairs and wondering what happened, I just want to correct them, because I was at the game this afternoon, and in fact, it was Manchester United. Who lost to Tottenham.
Right.
Come on, you Spurs.
All right. So thanks a lot, Nick. 0345 6060 973. Kelly says, I think you're misreading this one, Nick. Football is very popular amongst women, particularly younger women, and they are delighted to see a women's team in the World Cup final. Women under 50 are already moving away from the Tory party because they feel ignored by them. Sunak staying away will only increase that feeling. Hooray, says Kelly. Well, you think if Rishi Sunak went to the stadium in Sydney that women under 50 would start to feel warmly about him? I don't think so. And I'm not misreading it. I'm not suggesting that people should not be interested. It's just that I'm not. I mean, I've said it. I am not interested. I'm not interested in that any more than I'm interested in Burnley playing Crystal Palace. I just don't care. I mean, on Match of the Day, I'll watch the first half, let's say. And as the programme goes on, my interest dissipates as we get further down the card. I mean, I'll be interested in Man City and Man United and Arsenal and Liverpool, and then my interest starts to wane just a little bit. It's like I'm not interested in First Division football either. I'm not interested in Davis Cup tennis. I'm not interested in netball. I'm not interested in rugby of any kind. Does that make me a Nazi? Why do you have to be interested in something just because it seems to be the thing of the moment? And if you're not interested, if you're not supporting our gals, then you're not patriotic. I just don't buy it. I think people are trying to be interested because they think that is the answer that they should be giving to the question, do you support our gals in their attempt to win the Women's World Cup? If you'd asked that maybe 2-3 years ago, you'd have got a quizzical stare and people wouldn't have realised that there even was such a thing as a Women's World Cup. But you're not allowed to say any of these things. This is the only show that you're going to hear any host say that I'm not really that interested. Am I going to be watching the game tomorrow? No. It's on too early for a start. I mean, if I get to bed at 2 o'clock, I'm definitely not going to get up first thing in the morning for that. No. But like I said, I'm not interested in seeing, I'm not even interested in all the teams in the Premier League. If the World Cup was on, and it was, and if we weren't actually involved, would I be watching all of the games? No. I mean, does that mean that I'm not interested in the men's sport? It doesn't mean that either. You can't be interested in everything. You've only got so much time available to you. You can't watch everything, and it doesn't make you a bad person if you're not interested in certain things. just because we're in a moment where everybody says that you have to be interested in something or other. Otherwise, you're a traitor to your country. The whole world's gone insane. Erith, hello, Steve.
Hello, Nick. Thank you for, I'm going to say putting up with me because I've got confused now.
Steve.
Oh, yeah, it's, you know that fella who was on about 5 calls ago, and it was talking about, it was politics and voting, and see, I have lost me thing, but like it's not about what they stand for or anything. It's like the man on the telly,
No, I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, sorry. I've got.
Would you like to have a moment to think about it?
Do you know what? I'll think about it and come back next week if that's okay.
Okay, he's going to come back next week, see if he can win the car. Thanks a lot, Steve. Excellent contestant. Pam says, I wish football fans would realise that the majority of people have no interest at all in any football match. I'm pretty sure that I've read that one already. Unless it got wiped off my screen and then she's texted it again just to make absolutely sure that everybody understands. Tom says, why are politicians only ever interested in sport when they think they can gain some sort of positive publicity off the back of it? It's really creepy and most people can see straight through it. Yeah, even Mr. Integrity.
This government will have integrity, professionalism and accountability at every level.
Yeah, at no level. 0 levels of integrity, accountability and professionalism. What is he talking about? How could he have the nerve to stand behind a lectern and say that and then, with his next breath, rehire Suella Braverman to be the blooming Home Secretary, for crying out loud, about 10 seconds after she just got fired? But, he bounces up and down. He's got those little sad puppy dog eyes and his cute little suit. Isn't he an absolute dream? I feel like this country is, it's like this entire country is chained to the radiator in his basement. Every now and again he comes down to give us a good whip and to tell us that our health is his top priority. Merthyr Tydfil, hello, Jeff.
Hey, Nick. I wonder if you could help me. I am entirely and utterly bewildered.
Yes.
First of all, I don't know what a prince does. Prince about the place? I don't know, right? But he's the Prince of Wales. Yeah. Now, as far as I can remember, there was a Welsh team in this thing that got knocked out, and a Scottish team, and the English team are there.
Yeah.
Where does that leave us? What if they win this? Are we all going to have a bank holiday to celebrate? Are the Scots going to celebrate? Are the Scots a country? Is Wales a country? I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, I am trying desperately to work it all out. But I am utterly and completely confused. But I do know, that Lucy Fraser bird, she's off there, going off to Australia. Mm-hmm. She's the culture secretary.
Yeah.
And she's a sort of come down from Doris. And that woman, when she made her maiden speech in the House of Commons,
yes,
she made some foul, disgusting remarks about Scotland.
Did she?
She was picking on the SNP. Yeah, you want to listen?
I don't want to listen to it.
Speech. Her maiden speech was all about what they should do with the Scots and what Oliver Cromwell did with them and what the Highland clearances. She made some foul jokes about that. And she's the culture secretary.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I'm bewildered. Yeah. I'm bewildered,
well,
Nick, and I don't
both.
understand.
Right. How's that open cast mine going there, Jeff? Still open?
I knew you were going to ask me.
Still open.
I knew you were going to ask me. It's still there.
Still there.
And, I just feel like throwing myself in it.
Yes.
After all this that's going on. And I got to say to you, Nick, I don't care who wins.
No, I'm not. I refuse to feel as though I have to care. I don't, and that's the end of it. All right, thanks a lot, Jeff. I mean, if it was the Rugby World Cup, I wouldn't care about that either. If there is such a thing as the Cricket World Cup, I would have zero interest. And I have no interest in this either. It's just that you're not allowed to say that. I guarantee no other show on the radio who will have a host who says, in truth, that they are not interested in this game. Because we've all been dragooned into feeling that we have to say that we're interested because... Why? Why? Because it's patriotic. Because it's a women's team, I suspect. I mean, if it's the men's team, the men's World Cup, and you say that you're not interested, well, that's just a person who's not interested in football. But if it's the women's World Cup team and you say you're not interested, then that makes you a sexist. With the fascist tendencies, I betcha. I mean, I'm glad for them. I think that's great. I hope they have a nice time. And I hope they make a lot of money. But you know, it's just one of those things that I'm not interested in. I'm not interested in reading Shakespeare. And I'm not interested in seeing Chinese films. And I'm not interested in eating Indian food. I just don't like any of those things. Does that make me a Nazi? 0345 6060 973. Ealing, Paul.
Yes.
Paul.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
I am with Nick. I'm with you on this. Women's football means absolutely nothing to me. I haven't watched a game. If it comes on the news, I'll turn it over. If it comes on the radio as in the news or whatever, I'm off to another channel.
Right.
I'm absolutely with you. I did say the other day...
That's a bit more extreme than my viewpoint. I mean, I'm just not going to go out of my way to see a game. I don't actually physically turn off the television when they talk about it on the news. But go on.
Yeah, well, I did say the other day, I'd rather dig hot daggers in my eyes than watch a game of women's football.
Is that true?
Then I thought, well, maybe that's a bit extreme.
A little bit over the top.
Drive.
Yeah.
Huh?
A little bit over the
and then
top.
I thought, well, there is some interesting stuff I really want to do on Sunday. Like, there's like watching some grass growing and paint drying, and I've really found that I might start doing a bit of paper mache.
Paper mache? Well, that sounds
lovely.
lovely.
I think that'd be more interesting in watching a game of women's football.
Right. See if you can fashion like a giraffe or something like that. It'd be lovely.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to do anything that strenuous, so I thought just make the paper mache, chuck the paper in the water and mix it up a bit.
And just leave it there.
And then I heard what Gareth Southgate said when he said, then women know what they need to do to win. I thought, well, surely that must be, what he means by that is score one more goal than the team you're playing.
If only it was that simple.
Yeah, and the woman that come on or left a message and said, more women are interested in the football because there's going to be a women's team, there's going to be women playing, or there's going to be a women's team in the final or something. I mean, what did she expect to be in the women's final? Dogs? Cats? You know what I mean? A bunch of cows? You know what I mean? Of course it's going to be women.
I would actually watch that. If it was cow football, I think I would make that. That would be appointment viewing.
I'll be watching it, saying that.
Yeah. All right, I think we've actually come up with a potential franchise there. I want you to train the cows, Paul, hire the venues, make sure that at least 1 million people watch, and we'll split the proceeds 50-50. What do you say?
Well, I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Okay.
I think we'll have the women cows, definitely.
Let's make it happen. Most cows are women. Even these days of inclusivity, I think we can confirm that most cows are in fact women. I don't believe that is sexist to say it. All right, thanks a lot, Paul. Good work. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC.
This is LBC. Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Now, wait a minute. I don't like that kind of talk. Now, just stop it. It upsets me.
James says, Nick, jellied eels are delicious. I seriously doubt that. So are stewed eels. Oh, God. He says, have you ever had pie and mash? It's the perfect accompaniment, he says. Pie and mash. Yes, I have had pie and mash, but not with eels or anything like that in it. Ugh.
Disgusting.
You imagine. John says, Nick, why on earth is it Prime Minister Jeremy Corbyn? Why on earth isn't, perhaps, Prime Minister Jeremy Corbyn out in Australia supporting our gallant ladies football team? I mean, he's been in power for the last 13 years. You'd think he'd pull his finger out. Yeah, thanks a lot, Jeremy Corbyn. If they lose, it's on you, you bearded weirdo. Malvern. Hello, Judy.
Oh, hello.
Judy.
Oh, it's been a while, hasn't it?
Has
I'm
it?
so sorry. You meant to know that. You meant to think, oh, it's so long since I've heard from Judy.
Judy, where have you been?
Oh, thank you. That's better. You know, and if you remember, the line is Judy, Judy, Judy.
Judy, Judy, Judy.
Yes, exactly. Why did you lie to me? And the guy who contacted you earlier and said, Judy, Judy, he was obviously referring to me.
No, I don't think so. I think it may have been Judge Judy, daytime television.
Oh.
But Judge Judy, that's America, isn't it? Judge Judy?
I think so. Yes, absolutely. But I just thought, Judy, Judy, it's like, yeah, it's...
Right. Anyway.
Okay, well, you know, knock a girl when she's flat on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, what's my other point then?
Yes.
Well, of course, the people who are going to this damnable football is James Cleverly, the biggest non-sequitur ever, and the culture secretary. I know it's Liz, but actually I don't want to remember her name. I don't care.
It's not important, Judy. There'll be another one along in just a minute.
Exactly. And, you know, when you think of the ones that we've had, I mean, really. But when it comes to Prince William and co, I think that, you know, damned if you do and damned if you don't. I'm not a royalist per se, although that is tempered by the thought of having President Liz Truss.
Right. Is that the only alternative?
Well, at the moment, yes.
Right.
There's nothing to suggest that the British public on previous conniptions that, you know, whether it's Brexit or anything else, there's nothing that makes me feel that the British public are going to suddenly vote for really good people.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
Liz agrees.
And there you go. And therefore, I think that's quite tenuous, and I would be very concerned. It's just like, well, it's better than the opposite. Doesn't mean to say it's
but
great.
that assumes that we have to replace the head of state from one to another. Why can't we just have the Prime Minister who's also the head of state? I mean, America does it that way. They seem to be doing all right.
Yeah, and Trump's in the lead.
No, he isn't. He's not in the lead. Only in his mind is he in the lead.
Well, there is that, but I'm not going to argue. But the very fact that he might actually possibly be in the lead is desperately worrying. But, okay, moving swiftly on. There's two things. There's two specific areas. One is that actually the damned if they do, the damned if they don't. Look, you know, I mean, we've just got about 28th of the world is on fire at the moment.
That's right, yeah.
In case nobody's noticed.
You'd think that there'd be more pressing concerns.
And I can't help but think they'd be thinking, I wonder if it's a really good look to fly all the way to Australia for 2 days and then come all the way back.
But the thing is, they're weighing that up against what the press is going to say if they don't.
Oh, well, but doodle to the press.
Well, but that's the only reason that that is the only reason they're considering going is because of what the press will say if they don't. The only reason that James Cleverly is in Australia and that what's her name is following him is because the press had a major the press. who have previously had zero interest in women's football, now because it has reached some sort of tipping point that there is interest, they thought, oh, blimey, well, we better get some coverage on this. How can we turn this into a campaign? Because that's the thing that they love the most, and they can campaign to get the government to jump if they demand it, like dancing them around like puppets on a string. And so that's why they've gone over there, is because the Mail screamed at them to do something.
I have to say that God, it's so boring when I just say I 100% agree with you. I mean, I wish I could disagree, but look, there's these... the climate change thing, they could have thought of that. It wouldn't take that much intelligence to say, given the country...
They don't care about climate change. He just okayed 100 oil and gas wells. They're not interested in climate change. They think their money will protect them. But I have bad news for them in that regard. It just won't. But, you can't talk them out of it.
There is one thing... Sorry. There's just one other thing, because it hasn't been mentioned. Mm-hmm. One thing that sends me completely bonkers, which is already raising its head, is they should have parity. The women's team should have parity in terms of remuneration with men, which is a load of complete donkey doos.
If they attract the same size of audience, then yes, because it's all about advertising. But if they don't, then no. And that's the end of it.
I think, I'm sorry, but you've just nailed it. And that's exactly correct. I mean, it's just, that's what it is.
So boring when we agree, Judy.
I know. I must try and ring you up and just really argue the toss about something.
Right, okay.
I'll work on it.
I'll look forward to that. Thanks a lot, Judy. 0345 6060 973. Simon says, why didn't the scented pixie not just stay in California? Are you talking about the perfumed princeling? The scented pixie? I like that. He says the country can go down the plug hole perfectly well without him. Yeah, he set the course for the rocks and then leapt into the lifeboat. Paddled away without us. Thanks a lot, Fishy Sunak. Let's have... Oh, no, wait a minute. The news shortly. I'll read some texts and emails and such to get there. Sue says, I think Boris has missed a trick, although he may still make a surprise appearance at the Ladies Football World Cup, joining in the national anthem from the middle of the pitch, followed by Rule Britannia. I wouldn't be remotely surprised. Jim says, your argument is based on politics and business. Football fans and others are not basing their support on the Lionesses on those criteria. Correct. Yeah, exactly. But we're talking about politics and business. The only reason that the women's game is now a thing is because business has decided to take an interest. And when business takes an interest, because that's where the money is, honey, then politicians are soon to chase after it. But it's all about adverts. If you can get a certain amount of people to show up and get their eyes on your ads, then so follows money. Same with the TV coverage. If you can get as many people as is required to make a TV company $1 billion, then they will point their cameras at you. If you can't, they won't. It's all about business and politics. The football is, it's not a side issue. Of course it isn't, because without it, then the business and the politics wouldn't be there. But, you get to a certain point, a certain tipping point of support, which is where we are right now, I believe, with the women's game, because we wouldn't have been talking about this 5 years ago. We just wouldn't. No interest at all. But from a certain amount of success comes a certain amount of interest, and then the interest breeds more people to watch, and then more people watch, and you get more adverts, and here we are today. I'm just not particularly interested myself. But like I said, if it was the Rugby World Cup, I would have a similar degree of uninterest.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Everything is going extremely well.
You bet your life it is. 0345 6060 973. Isabel texts, I'm very disappointed in you. Oh, Blimey, what have I done now? You did not defend your mate, Jan, when Ranjit accused her of being gullible. Who's Jan? Ranjit may not be easily deceived, but I bet he smells of chip fat, says Isabel. Here comes a message from next door. Jan in Tooting, who is accused of thinking the world is on a weird axis. Oh. Yeah, we better not all rush to the top of the planet, because otherwise it might flip over. That's just a fact. Any fool know that. Let's have Jan in Tooting. Hello, Jan.
Hi, good evening, Nick.
Yes, Jan.
Yeah, hi. I don't think that was me, but you said something about Jan in Tooting about world tilting somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't think that was another Jan.
Misinformation.
But I want to come in on this thing about, I know you, about the fight that women have had to make to play a game that they actually love, and that there was a film made by that Asian filmmaker Gurinder Chadha called Bend It Like Beckham, which was very popular with young girls who actually like the game and want to play it.
Right.
And I don't know if you've seen it, but it was also dealing with sexism and problems in the race, because the besides Keira Knightley being in it, it was an Asian girl who was from a Sikh background who loved soccer and wanted to play it, but her family was so traditional. You know, she had to overcome so much. So the female director who made this film, I mean, it's so popular. It popularised.
Well, not in my
girls
house.
wanting to play. No. Well, yeah, but maybe there's been such an element of sexism stopping women. There was a ban to stop women playing football football by the FA Council. That's the amount of sexism. It lasted for 50 years. Whereas during the First World War, women were playing football, kickabouts and the thing, because they had a bit more freedom. They had, but then there was that 50-year ban that wasn't lifted from women being able to play at a higher level. So I mean, it's been a great struggle. I mean, it's not just business. The flame has been going for the game amongst women.
Well, it's like women in work. Right? In the Second World War, it was like, forget everything we said up to this point, ladies. Please present yourselves to the nearest factory, and they did so. And the moment the war was over, it's like, right, back at the kitchen sink for you.
Yeah, you see, they came up, but it's funny that women have really, really liked the game. It's not just big business. That's why it's
like some women. I mean, most football match crowds are not full of women, unless it's women who are on the pitch.
Well, I don't know about that, but I think things might be changing. It's like women want equality and of opportunity as well. If they love the game, I wouldn't think rugby's necessary. I mean, men were always saying it's not a suitable game for women, but women actually like the game and wanted to have a kickabout.
Right. Well, that's great.
So why stop them?
Who's going to stop them? No one's thinking of stopping them now. Just because I am not personally interested in watching it does not mean to say that I think that it should be banned.
Oh no, I've never watched the women playing. I haven't watched it. I mean, I know, but I'm interested in it.
Right.
I'm interested.
You're interested in it, but you've never watched it.
No, well, I don't have a TV, but I don't watch TV. But I won't. I will listen to what's going on and catch up with things later.
Okay.
But I think it's quite extraordinary how they fought through, and they've come through to wanting to play this game, and look where they are now, women, I mean, in the world, what they've overcome.
Right.
That film, Bend It Like Beckham, it expressed it so well.
Yeah, but they did sell that film on David Beckham's name, though, didn't they? Yes.
No, but there's no men in it. It's all about women, young girls wanting to play football.
Okay, but you only know that once you've spent the money on your ticket and sat down.
Yeah, well,
I mean, why have David Beckham's name on a film that has nothing that he's not in?
Well, I think that's why it's called Bend It Like Beckham. I mean, bending some of the whatever it is, rules or whatever.
Right.
I don't know.
Whatever it is that that David Beckham is bending,
disgusting.
That is what women were bending to. They're exactly in the same way. Yeah, and the amount of people who want to rent that film now is just shot through the roof. All right, thanks a lot, Jan. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. Brenda texts, in my view, sanctimonious pious weed Rees-Mogg is a current-day Pontius Pilate, the man who presided over the trial of Jesus and ultimately ordered his crucifixion. If Mogg had his way, he'd more than likely do the same for us poor dopes and get rid of us once and for all. The Twiglet will never be a sir to me.
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
Yeah, no, me neither. But I have absolutely no idea what that's got to do with anything that we're talking about. Helen says, who went to the Men's World Cup cricket final, the women's netball final? Does it matter? No. Exactly. You can't be interested in everything. There's only so many hours in the day. I'm not interested in League One football. I don't care. I'm not interested in the teams that will occupy the bottom of the Premier League, for crying out loud. I mean, how much football can a person watch? I watch both matches of the day, and that's it. I don't pay for extra football. I mean, I don't do much, but even I ain't got the time to watch, vast amounts of football. I don't support a particular team. It's not that important to me. But this idea, it seems to be around that if you are not excited about the prospect of this game tomorrow, then you are in some way being unpatriotic. It's just absolute nonsense. I don't care about the World Cup of cricket, if indeed there is such a thing, and that doesn't make me unpatriotic either. I couldn't care less about rugby or hockey or netball or any number of, in fact, anything but football. Unless, as I said before, it's the Olympics, and then my interest in all sports is completely encompassing. 0345 6060 973. Birmingham. Hello, Tony.
Good evening, Nick. Nice to speak to you.
Hello.
A bit earlier on, you said you think more people will watch Match of the Day than the Women's World Cup final.
In this country?
Yeah. Are you sticking by that?
Well, I've got no idea. I mean, I imagine. I'm not putting money on it, if that's what you're asking me.
How many people do you think watch Match of the Day these days, then, Nick?
I don't know. Tell me.
2 million.
Is that all?
Yeah. Nobody watches it anymore. It's
You just said 2 million.
Well, 2 million. From its heyday, it's shrunk drastically.
Well, that's because we now have 1,000 channels to choose from and everything that's on the internet.
Well, there'll be at least 10 million watch that game tomorrow, or later today, whenever it is.
Yeah, but you don't know that. You're telling me a precise number of something that is going to happen in the future.
Well, how many million do you think will watch it?
I've got no idea.
Way more than... There is a bit of interest in it, Nick. You might be right. It may not be on everybody's radar.
Right.
But people will be watching it.
Because it's the final of the World Cup, Tony. How many people watched the games leading up to it?
Well, 11 million watched the semi-final.
Right. Before that?
I don't know.
How many people watched the qualifying games? I mean, you're comparing. If you want to compare and contrast, then it would be how many people watched the men's World Cup versus the women's World Cup. If that's the comparison that you're trying to make, Tony, if you're trying to suggest that there is equal interest, then that's the comparison you make. Not Match of the Day, which is at the beginning of the season, and the games at this point numerically don't really matter that much.
Well, it was you that said that, Nick, not me. You said more people will be watching Match of the Day than the Women's World Cup final.
Right. Well, we'll find out when we get there. Hey.
Correct. And I think Prince William is a bit of a football fan.
How do you know that?
And, well, he turns up at Villa Park every so often. There's some bizarre story about he has a memory of seeing Aston Villa win the European Cup when he was 5 or 6, and that's stuck in his mind. And
sure.
So he is a bit of a football fan.
Yeah, OK. If you say so, Tony. 0345 6060 973. Jason says, you don't have to be interested, but that doesn't mean that not many people are. Exactly. Why does my interest make a difference one way or the other? You can't be interested in everything. I'm not saying that it shouldn't exist. I'm just saying that I'm not particularly interested. But you're not allowed to say that. I feel that there is some sort of law that has just been recently written that you're not allowed to say that you are not interested in the Women's World Cup final. It marks you out as being A, sexist, and B, unpatriotic. Neither of those two things is true. He says, you're going to see a record TV audience tomorrow, and it's not all people pretending they want to watch it because they ought to. There's going to be a lot of that. Do me a favour. And he says, and as for Women's Super League games, when the big teams move games to the biggest stadiums, they regularly attract over 30, 40 or even 50,000 people. Well, that's great. But why are you telling it to me as though I should be interested because of that? 0345 6060 973. Here's another Judy, Belsize Park.
Hello.
Judy.
I'm just thinking you could actually end up reporting on this match, and I'll tell you why. When we were given the Olympics, the 2012 Olympics, it was announced in 2005, and I phoned Nick Ferrari, and I said it was all rubbish about how much it was going to cost, because we knew it would cost 10 times more than they said it would. And I had no interest, because Nick Ferrari was saying everybody is interested and everybody's thrilled. I said I have no interest. I used to bunk off games at school.
Yeah.
I couldn't care less about the whole thing. And the following day, I got a phone call from Nick Ferrari's producer asking me, would I like to be their Olympics correspondent? And for several years, you can check this out, although you don't do homework.
No.
And for several years, coming up to the opening of the Olympics, I used to be phoned by Nick Ferrari's producer and be asked to go on the air and talk about various inconsequential rubbish that I knew nothing about that was going on to do with the Olympics. So my idea is that you would make an excellent correspondent for the match in Australia, and that you should do a live commentary, or if you can't do the live commentary, at least give us a whole, go and watch it and give us a whole thing, and it could be a wonderful career move for you, although I never got paid for what I did.
Right.
But I did get a lovely bunch of flowers at Christmas.
Oh, how marvellous.
Yes.
Yeah, Nick Ferrari would be, and now we go over to Australia live to hear the commentary, or the
No, I want you doing it.
Yeah, he would be. This is Nick Ferrari going live to me in Australia.
Oh, I see. I beg your pardon. Sorry, I interrupted.
For an update on the game, and I'd be, I didn't watch it, Nick. Was I supposed to be watching it?
No. Well, I never did much watching of the actual Olympics, but I did find out a lot of inconsequential rubbish to do with it. And also, finally, once and for all, can we knock this on the head? Cary Grant never said Judy, Judy, Judy. It was a character in a film called Only Angels Have Wings, and the character in it was called Judy, and he used her name many times during the film, but he never said the triple.
Right, what's that got to do with Cary Grant?
Because he was in the film.
What film?
He's the person that supposedly always said Judy, Judy, Judy. Don't you know that?
No, I wasn't thinking...
Where are you getting it from?
Well, there was a song by one of them hippity hip hoppers, and it was Judy. I think it was called Judy, 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 but it was spelt different. It was spelt three different ways. Judy, Judy, Judy. That's what I'm getting.
Then
Cary
I apologise.
Grant. Yeah, all right.
I apologise unreservedly, but when it's done, it's usually done with Cary Grant's voice saying it.
Well, that's completely unintentional, I can assure you.
Right, then I apologise. And we'll all wait for your review or your live commentary of the match.
Right, OK, I can't wait for that myself. What will I say? All right, thanks a lot, Judy. Gotta go.
This is LBC with Nick Abbot. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
And remember, darling, I don't work before 10 in the morning and never after 4:30 in the afternoon.
Those are my strict rules. Leah texts, as a female, I couldn't agree with Nick more on the game tomorrow. I'm not going to be watching, not interested, and I've lots more important stuff to do, says Leah, who hates her country. Jonathan texts, things have changed. Women's football is popular around the world now. That is a good thing. It doesn't matter if politicians or royals are interested or not. They have a duty. It's a shame they're so incompetent as not to organise themselves. They don't have a duty. What is the point of sending the Prime Minister or the Foreign Secretary, for crying out loud, all the way around the world? I mean, you have to take off from this planet to get further away just to watch a football match. What for? I mean, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here probably gets a bigger audience. And are they supposed to show up for the finale of that too? Just because there's a lot of people going to be watching? What about other sports? How about netball? The World Netball, if there is such a thing. I mean, do they show up for that too? How about skateboarding? There's no doubt a World Skateboarding Championship. If we're in the final of that, do they show up for that as well? I mean, where do you draw the line? Of course Rishi Sunak shouldn't be there. What would be the point of him being there? 0345 6060 973. Aisling, Bromley.
Hi, Nick.
Aisling.
Hello. I was going to call and ask why no one was talking about the World Athletics Championship.
The World what?
Athletics.
Athletics Championship. Right, okay, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because no one's talking about that at all. And, I mean, personally, I'm kind of a lot more interested in that. But,
yes, well, that's an excellent point. The World Athletics Championship, and you could say the World Gymnastics Championship and the Swimming Championships and all these things that people, that if it's the Olympics, there is not enough hours in the day for people to sit down and watch all that stuff. If it's not in the Olympics, no one is remotely interested.
Yeah, exactly. And a couple of weeks ago as well, there was like a bunch of national records set, and no one's even talking about it in like the Diamond League Athletics. And like Durham Euro set a record in the mile, and it just gets no coverage. It never gets any coverage.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because I mean the only thing I can think is that I mean, personally, I've never really been a major fan of soccer anyway. And yes, I call it soccer. I don't call it football, because in Ireland, football is a completely different game.
Yeah.
But, it's just totally different. But yeah, it's always been something that annoys me, is that like athletics doesn't get much coverage at all. And I get so confused by it. And it just does seem like a lot of the support for the football sometimes is quite virtuous, and it's just, yeah, I mean,
well,
I don't know.
the support is very tribal, is what it is, and kind of animalistic.
It's really strange, and I think people like it's basically what you said. If people feel like they have to seem to be supporting it, and if you're not supporting it, then you're not being patriotic or whatever. Like you said as well. Sexist thing too. I think people feel like they're not allowed to say that they don't care.
They're overcompensating. They haven't cared up to this point, but now it's like, oh well, you can't say that you're not interested because that means you're a sexist.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite cringy, actually.
I mean, it's just nonsense. I'm not interested in Sheffield versus Luton Town, for instance. Does that mean to say that I hate men? Of course it doesn't. It's just that it's a sort of a. It's not. It's like a not second division, because that implies what it isn't. But it's lower down the card. I mean, if you've got an hour to watch football, then I'm not going to watch Fulham versus Nottingham Forest. I'm going to try and watch something with Man City in it because they're the best players.
Yeah, no, exactly. I know what you mean. I mean, if I was going to actually sit down and watch something, I would much prefer to watch a marathon. Which a lot of people would be like, "How can you watch a marathon?"
Marathon.
Yeah, but when you're a runner, you see it totally differently. Like, but I've never gotten the kind of the attraction of football. But I mean, I hate the amount of money that's in it. Though I really hate the amount of money that gets plowed into it, and it's just that's. But
that's neither here nor there. I mean, that shouldn't change your attitude to the game. I mean, what difference does it make how much money they're earning?
Because it's a sport, and like there's people that, like, again, I'll go to athletics, like they don't make nearly as much.
No, well, that's true. But the reason is because not as many people... No, and the reason is what we've discussed already. Not as many people want to watch it. That's the specific reason they don't make as much money.
Yeah, but I think, like, the amount of money that goes around in football as well, I think that really adds to the corruption in it and stuff, but...
Well, where there is money, there will be people trying to get it with underhand means, yes. But I don't think that necessarily affects the performance on the pitch. I mean, it would be a bit weird if a footballer who's only, in inverted brackets, earning 100 grand a week was to try less hard than a teammate who was earning 200 grand a week. I mean, they're just playing football. All the money thing goes into the background once the whistle goes, surely. Must do. I mean, so what are they supposed to do? Say, no, that's okay. In a short career that's over by the time you're 30, I'd rather earn a small amount of money and to learn the value of cash. No. Why should the owners of clubs take all the money when the workers are doing the part that people actually show up to watch? So if there's going to be that much money floating around football, then I think it's the players that should be getting it, not the management. But that's just me. I mean, that's the same everywhere. Why do the 99% of the workers in the world who do all the effort and create the wealth get nothing, while the 1% who happen to own the means of production, they take all the money that has been created? No, I don't get that. But I appreciate it, Aisling. Thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Keith says, what about the World Marbles Championship? We would lose that anyway. Is that a reference to losing your marbles? As in... Well, there is truth in that. We have lost that already. Phil says, I'm as Scottish as a slab of shortbread wrapped in tartan and doused in iron brew. And I'd be delighted to see this England women's team win tomorrow, says Phil. Did you see the leader of the SNP who's asked some daft question about whether he was going to be supporting England? Of course not. He's Scottish. Scotland is not a part of England. I know that might come as a surprise to some of you. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
This is absolute tosh.
Anybody care what this guy thinks?
No!
Harriet says, loving the frankness regarding the upcoming football game, feel bamboozled into caring because it's women, and I'm a woman, says Harriet. Rick says, hey, Ricky, you're so fine, Ricky. He says, hi, Nick, I like you. Could you... Not I like you. I think it's I, like you, could not care less about this football match tomorrow, and I'm fed up with being made to feel like I have to be excited by it, says Rick. He's very, very angry. 0345 6060 973. Plymouth, hello, Mark.
Oh, hi, yeah. I'm not really bothered about the women's football game because I don't like football generally anyway, so tomorrow I'm probably going to be cutting the grass. What I would watch, though, is dodgeball with the Conservative Party, like Rees-Mogg and Boris Johnson and Dorries. That dodgeball, I'd tune in to watch that.
Yes, I would tune in to watch that. Yeah,
I would love that.
Only if it was a very, very heavy ball.
Just like to see Rees-Mogg's ball, flat in his face.
That would be funny. Yeah, he'd fall down like a skittle.
I would watch that, but I was criticised by a friend about not wanting to watch the game tomorrow. They said I wasn't patriotic, and I like you said earlier on, I I just don't get it.
How absolute... Well, it's just total nonsense. I mean, did they say that you're not patriotic because you haven't been watching the Athletics World Cup?
No, they haven't. No, they just said, it's never... We have a final in so many years and that. And I said, well, it doesn't make me any more unpatriotic. And most people don't really like football. They just don't admit it. I would... I'm just not into football. I just don't get the obsession with everyone having to have the same train of thought.
Right. Well, you hate your country, I understand.
Not at all, no. Right. But dodgeball I would watch.
Yes, me too. Yeah.
If you could get Dorries and Johnson and Twiglet up there, I'd love to watch that.
If it was fired out of a cannon, I'd be right there. All right.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks a lot, Mark. Yeah, I mean, do people say you're unpatriotic if you don't watch the World Gymnastics Championships? I mean, when did you ever watch the World Gymnastics Championships? I mean, Britain will have a team, Team GB. Did anybody say you're unpatriotic to not watch that? How about fencing? There's probably a World Fencing Championship. Why haven't you watched that? Don't you like your country? Hockey, no doubt, has a World Championships. And we probably have a team, Team GB. Did you watch that? No, because you're not interested. Show jumping. Did you watch that? Or netball, or basketball, or any other of a million sports that come and go without the slightest bit of interest. But no, because it's football, and because it's women's football specifically, then we're being browbeaten into believing that we have to actually express an interest. Well, like I said before, if Sheffield and Luton were playing, I wouldn't be interested in that either. But if Man City and Man United were playing, then yes, absolutely. Doesn't mean I say I hate my country or I'm a sexist just because I'm not interested in this game tomorrow. But I bet that this is the only programme where the host actually says that out loud. Ali texts, how many on the England team do you think are actually Republicans? I bet that if they win and they get invited over to number 10, as they most certainly will do, for a picture with Fishy Rishi, I bet that that most of them will absolutely hate that. I mean, how many... I've got no clue as to who they are, but I would imagine that very few of them are Conservatives. Anybody want to take that bet? Lee says, Prince William is a big Aston Villa fan. He has even taken his son to see them play. Oh, big deal. He's been to a football match. That's great. Well, I mean... So that makes him an ideal candidate to be the head of the Football Association, along with the 1,001 other organisations that he is the head of, and he's giving them his full support. Brent, hello, Gary.
Hello, Mr. Nick.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to file a complaint about the weather in Glasgow.
Yes.
I went for a week and it didn't rain once.
What?
Yeah, so, I mean, what was the point of going, really?
You must be very disappointed.
First time I've left the country to go to the country north of us. And
it didn't rain?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, because I shop at Lidl, I was given tickets for the World Cycling Championship.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm patriotic, so I went to support Team GB.
Of course, yeah.
And watch them go round and round.
Round and round and round, yeah. Couldn't be more interesting.
They put a roof on the velodrome, so they obviously were expecting rain. And, I didn't even need to use my umbrella.
You didn't even get wet. Well, I'm very, very disappointed on your behalf.
Thank you. And I even told a random man in the street that you do the weekly Glasgow weather report.
Yeah.
And he understood.
Yeah. Well, they get it, though, yeah. I mean...
So I went to Dunoon to try and get some, water as such, and it did rain there.
Oh.
Thank God, so.
Well, a result. So it wasn't a completely wasted trip. Glad to hear it.
No, and it takes a hell of a long time to drive around those locks to get anywhere.
Yeah,
once you
no
get out
doubt.
of Glasgow.
Yeah, I know. They're huge.
But it was beautiful. My car ended up on its roof, but that's another story.
That is another story. We'll never know why. All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Gary. Cheers, mate. I can confirm that it is not raining in Glasgow at the moment. If you can believe that. Neither will it be raining tomorrow. But it will be raining on Monday and raining on Tuesday and raining on Wednesday and raining on Thursday and raining on Friday and raining on Saturday and raining on Sunday and raining on Monday and raining on Tuesday and raining on Wednesday the 30th and Thursday the 31st. And at the beginning of September, it'll be raining. That is your Glasgow weather forecast. Raining every day for the rest of your life, apart from tomorrow. Enjoy it while you can. 0345 6060 973. Martin says, why does the news report tell us that the King has wished good luck to the England team? Is everyone supposed to be grateful to him for his good wishes that he won't have sent anyway? He just sent them. He's just sent his good wishes. That doesn't make no sense. Why does the news report tell us that the King has wished good luck to the England team? Is everyone supposed to be grateful to him for his good wishes that he won't have sent anyway? He just sent them. But yes, you are supposed to be grateful. And as for that vomitous video, a little clip of which we heard on the news from Fishy Sunak, oh, for crying out loud. Nobody believes a single solitary word you say on this or any other subject, Fishy. Pretending to be interested. He's very bad at this job. I mean, at least Bodger...
Yeah. Wait.
At least he could sort of blast his way through disbelief by being amusing. But Fishy Sunak is just not cut out for this position, is he? He's not believable with anything that he says. From the very first thing that he said...
This government will have integrity, professionalism and accountability at every level.
From that moment on, no one believed a single word that man said. And he just can't deliver it. I mean, I imagine he's going to classes that people will be tasked with, trying to make him better at the job. And the job is to essentially lie to us, but to get us to believe what he's saying. That is the job of the Prime Minister. And then, engage in all sorts of underhand behaviour to try to cling on to power at any cost. That's the job. And he's terrible at it. He's just not believable at all, or likeable. And so they try to get him to use those little puppy dog eyes of yours. Look sad when people question you. Like you've never been questioned before. Why are you picking on me? And to bounce up and down like an eager little bunny. And to talk to ordinary people as though he's done that before. I think he's terrible at the job. I don't know what we've done to deserve this, but it must have been awful. I just wish I could remember it. 0345 6060 973. Tamworth. Hello, David.
Hiya, Nick. You all right?
Yes, good, thanks.
The guy who said about Prince William having a childhood memory of Aston Villa winning the European Cup.
Yeah.
It'd have been about a month old.
Right.
Because they won it in 1982. That I do know because of its connections with Tamworth.
Connections with Tamworth?
Yeah, I'm the guy who rang in about a year ago and told you about the Bun Bug and that the guy from Luke Skywalker drove one.
Wow, I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I did, and you were shocked that I knew it was a Bun Bug. It's something that Tamworth is famous for.
Oh, the Bond Bug, that orange three-wheeled car.
Yeah,
is that what you're talking about?
It's actually in Star Wars, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
The Bond Bug is in Star Wars?
Is the land speeder.
No.
It is, I'm telling you, it's the truth. And a guy came on afterwards and said, that bloke's right.
The Bond Bug, that tiny sort of triangular car that was that only came in one colour, orange.
Yeah, and a few white, about 4 or 5 white ones. Yeah.
And so how did they change it into the what's it called? The land speeder. How did they change it into a land speeder?
Oh, took the body off. The rest is like a bike frame underneath with an engine on. There's nothing on the roof. There's no metal above sort of seat level.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why. And another thing for Tamworth...
Well, hang on a minute. Talk about ruining it for us. I mean, next you'll be telling me that Darth Vader's not real.
Darth Vader is real, yeah. But going back to the European Cup, when Aston Villa won it in 1982... a representative of the club or a player took it round sort of local shops and stuff like that. I had my photo taken. I just happened to be in the local shop. I was only a little boy, and so I had a picture of the European Cup. But one of the players and the representative of Aston Villa Football Club took it in a local pub. Some guy said, "Can I take a photo of the cup on my car?" And he drove off with it and nicked it. Absolutely true. And so it's kind of one of them quirky sort of things that, Tamworth's famous for.
Right. Well, now we know. And thanks for ruining Star Wars for us.
Well, sorry about that, yeah.
All right, cheers, David. 0345. Here's the information from next door, by the way. A disguised bug, a Bond bug. And if you don't know what a Bond bug is, by the way, if you weren't around in the 1970s, one of the silliest things you've ever seen in your life. It's a 3-wheel car that was orange and was the shape of a triangle. Now, I do have vague recollections of somebody telling me this before, but I think I made my best efforts to forget it because it's not really the sort of thing that you want to have in mind when watching Star Wars. So... Warning! Spoiler alert. The land speeder was a 3-wheel car from the 1970s. Well, that ruins it for me. You just got rid of that. Put it back. I was about to read that. Put it back. It says, a disguised bug gained international screen fame in Star Wars when Ogle Design created Luke Skywalker's land speeder X-34 using a Bond bug chassis. Angled mirrors gave the illusion it was floating above the ground. Which is the same technology that Rishi Sunak uses.
This is LBC. Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Right, so what are we doing?
Given we are doing a radio show, but it reminds me I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin.
Yeah.
She is so kooky. The idea of the podcast is we solve people's problems while guffawing like seals. Now, if you have an issue that you want solved, send it to the following address. nickandcarol@global.com. nickandcarol@global.com. But gird yourself for total satisfaction.
Oh, right, yeah.
Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? Comes out on Mondays. It's an hour long, and we've done about 180, I think. 180 episodes.
What?
Yeah, without killing each other. You believe that? If you wish to be amused, it'll be right up your alley. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? Or if you just do an internet search on my name, Nick Abbott, then all 3 podcasts that I do will become apparent as though by magic. Let's have a call in Sandbach. John.
The Bond bug was made by Reliant Cars. You know, the 3-wheelers.
Reliant. Was it, really?
Yeah, I had one of them.
Did you? Did it fall over?
No, but I popped out the front light on one side, turning round in the road, and it fell out. I pushed it back in, and it worked great ever since.
Right.
And
how did they get away with calling it a Bond bug, by the way? I mean, you'd think that the Bond people would have objected.
No, everybody, it was known as the Bond bug.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I wanted one myself.
But it had nothing to do with James Bond, but that would be the inference that people would take, that it had something, it was... obviously, when you look at it, it's the most deeply uncool thing you've ever laid eyes on. But if you call it a Bond bug, then suddenly that gives it a bit of a cachet.
Yeah, it was called a Bond bug, but I don't think it was in any way reference to James Bond. It's just what Reliant came out with.
Right.
And, I had 70 miles an hour down the motorway with
wow.
Wheeler, yeah.
That must have been downhill.
No, I was going straight as a die.
70 miles an hour? How long did it take to get to 70? In weeks?
Oh, no, it was real quick. It was fast, all right. But it was great. It was a brilliant car, and it was motorbike tax, and that was the best thing about it.
Right. Cheap.
Yeah, it was dead cheap. For somebody who hasn't got any money to drive a cheap car, well, why not?
But, I mean, in a crash, I would imagine it would give you the same protection as a cardboard box.
Probably, but you weren't thinking of that when you were 20
No, that's right, yeah.
No, you weren't. But
well, in the 1970s, nobody thought about health and safety or anything. I mean, you just imagine that you are special and nothing bad will ever happen to you.
That's true, and I emigrated to Australia in the 70s with my then wife, and football was referred to. You won't like what I'm going to say. So can I say it was? Well, do you want me to say it?
I don't know what you're about to say, so how could I possibly answer that question? Try me.
Well, as what we call football.
Just in case. Just in case. So that's what the Australians called it. Wow. Well, don't say that again, John.
I'm not going to.
No, okay.
But I have to say that for information.
It's just information, yeah.
Yeah, and it was played by lots of Greeks, Italians, and everything.
Well, they have their own football in Australia, which is... I have got no idea what they're doing there. They call it Aussie rules, but there don't appear to be any rules at all.
No, if you think football's bad here, you want to get Aussie rules over there. Oh, geez, you get it stuck down your throat day and night.
Well, I imagine they've got nothing else to entertain themselves, do they?
If you go into New South Wales, where it's mainly rugby league, it's rugby league.
Right, another dull sport that I'm not interested in.
But I follow it. For Rishi Sunak to say we beat the Aussies in their own backyard.
Oh, please.
What the hell is he talking about? The English women beat Australia at football or soccer or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And yes, they beat them all right, fine. But it's not the final he's on about. He's on about the semi-final.
It's just painful. I mean, he's trying to be normal, and so he had one of his people write out that little thing that he just read, and he has no interest in the game. He has zero interest in any of this. It's just that his handlers thought, well, you got to say something because now the press have got a bee in their bonnet about this. Because the press haven't had any interest up to this point either. So, and now they're launching a campaign, which is why James Cleverly has been on a plane, and the culture secretary, whatever her name is, she's going out there too. It's because the Daily Mail has been having a cow that nothing is happening, and it's just all so blooming silly.
And none of them know anything about Australia and the way they think and all that kind of stuff. They haven't got a clue.
Yeah, which is one of the reasons that we've just signed such a ruinously bad trade deal with Australia, and it's so bad that they were actually laughing about it, about us, on the news in Australia. There's a clip that's going around over there. Australian farmers couldn't believe the deal that that melting candle, Lord Frost, people are still interested in what that man says. He's got a column in the Telegraph, for crying out loud. Well, as long as he stays there, I'll know where he is and be able to avoid him. John, thanks, mate. 0345 6060 973. Carlos says, I have to take you to task about your constant misinformation about MP Sunak's holiday in California. You mentioned that he was in the queue for Space Mountain at Disney. That is a total lie, as he can't get on the ride as he doesn't meet the minimum height requirement. It was reported he was left in the ball pit with an adult supervisor while he watched his children enjoy Space Mountain. Also, I have no interest in football tomorrow either. It's all overhyped, says Carlos. Jenny says, what a palaver over a football match. I'll be going back to blackberry picking. Is that the alternative? And Hamid says, sorry to be pedantic, but I have to correct the caller who used the term non sequitur incorrectly in reference to James Cleverley's name. I think what she meant to say was that James Cleverley is an example of how nominative determinism has exceptions. Yeah, I think it proves it's not a thing. 0345 6060 973. You know, the one thing that I was going to talk about yesterday, but I got bogged down in talking about the issues yesterday, and tonight as well, just sort of, this show has got nothing to do with me. This programme was like this when I got here. I was going to talk about Gillian Bloomin' Keegan, who is the actual Education Secretary, if you can believe that. Maybe in the next half hour we might stop talking about... What's weird is I've spent 2.5 hours talking about something I'm not interested in. What am I like? Mary says, I agree that women's football is a bit on the slow side, but they have done well. It's a good thing that girls are playing more football. Hockey is a ghastly game. It cost me a fortune in orthodontics. That ball is terribly hard. Yeah, same with cricket. Way too hard, and it travels way too fast. No thanks, it's a no from me. I agree that women's football is a bit on the slow side, says Mary. Well, who are you agreeing with? Because nobody said that on this show. Martin says, you're not interested in the Women's Cup final, you traitor. I bet you're a Ramona like that James O'Brien. We have a better team than the Germans do, and the French, and that... that doesn't surprise me, because we're a much better country than every single one of them.
I just reckon we've got the very best people in this country, much better than the French have, much better than the Belgians have, much better than the Americans have. That doesn't surprise me at all, because we're a much better country than every single one of them.
Than every single one of them. He used to be the Education Secretary. Can you believe that?
No.
Yeah. What a country, eh? What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
Kerry says, an extra reason we need a universal basic income now is those who have better habits in relation to our planet will get to spend their basic income on other things rather than spending on ULEZ. Wow. What on earth does that have to do with anything that we've been talking about? I don't even understand what that means. An extra reason we need a universal basic income now, capital letters, exclamation mark. Those who have better habits in relation to our planet will get to spend their basic income on other things rather than spending it on ULEZ, etc. Does that make sense?
No.
No, I didn't think so. Not just me. 0 cents. And it fits right in on this show.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Well, the whole world's gone crazy.
The whole world's gone crazy for women's football, and if you don't like it, that means you are a sexist. And you hate your country. Peter says, do you think that if the English women win the World Cup, that they will be given the equal funding to the men because they haven't won anything in 57 years? They will be given equal funding to men when they wrestle that money from those who have it. By which I mean demonstrating that they can bring an equal audience. I mean, it's like saying a busker is upset because he's not earning as much as Ed Sheeran. Well, the reason for that is because Ed Sheeran's got a queue of people around the block who want to see him, but the busker doesn't. Dwayne says, Nick, where was all the hullabaloo before the Netball World Cup final a couple of weeks ago when England played and lost to Australia? Why were there no shouts of patriotic duty and where's the Prince for that tournament and final? Well, that's all news to me. But if that is true, then yeah, that's right. Why is it just football? I mean, there's no end of sports that have world championships that we do or do not do well in, but nobody insists that Fishy Sunak sends a representative to cheer on our boys or girls. 0345 6060 973. Maidstone. Hello, Rob.
Morning, Nick. So we're at the bread and circuses part of the downfall of the former British Empire.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So I'm not a patriot because I really couldn't give a monkeys about cheering for athletes running around. But I am a patriot because I'm more worried that in the same week they smuggled out a report from the DWP that 22,000 people died since 2012 waiting for their benefit claims to be sorted out.
Blimey.
And 430,000 people are waiting to find out whether they're eligible for PIP and disability payments. And we're worried about whether an entitled person,
Princeling,
gets on a plane and flies to watch a football match. I think it's bloody disgusting that we're expected to all cheer and wave our flags for that when people are dying because our benefit system doesn't work. Sorry, Nick, I realise that's not quite
finally some perspective, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes, it took a while, but we got there eventually. Good work, Rob. Thanks a lot, mate. Ta-da. 0345 6060 973. Yeah. Too much bleeping perspective. That took the wind out of your sails, didn't it? There's people dying for want of help from this couldn't care less government. But what we're persuaded that is important is a blooming football match and stopping damp, desperate people washing up on the shores by Dover.
Under my leadership, the government's priorities are your priorities.
Yeah, and what's your priority?
The country's priority is to stop the boats. And at the same time, I think people know that I'm relentlessly focusing on stopping the boats, and I'm relentlessly focused on stopping the boats. That's one.
Yeah, that's your number one priority when it isn't reading out a script that somebody else has written about the women's football team. Please. He's very bad at his job. Shocking. Steve texts, we would never have got into the finals if Jeremy Corbyn was Prime Minister. Well, that is just a fact. Thanks a lot, Jeremy Corbyn. You see what you've done? 57 years of hurt because of Jeremy blooming Corbyn. Bill says, presumably, William will continue to refrain from polluting the atmosphere and keep his use of air travel to the absolute minimum in future. We shall look forward to seeing him travel by car and train more often, just like his mother did, says Bill. Mark says, Tishy Sunak should kick off his Prada shoes and buy himself some kitten heels. This would give him a bit more height. I also think some leopard print ones would make him appear more, more masculine. Well, that's a good point. You want to get on that, Fishy?
I am totally 100% on it.
He's 100% on it. He's not giving it his full attention. He's only 100% on it. I mean, he could be 110%, but, you know, apparently we're not worth that. Thanks a lot, mate. Nottingham. Hello, Helen.
Oh, hi, Nick. Sorry, I was just really laughing at that text from somebody who said that the football wouldn't be there if Jeremy Corbyn was Prime Minister.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm really sorry. It tickled me and it made me laugh before I was prepared. I do apologise. I suppose really we've been having this conversation today in our home about if tomorrow was the World Cup final for the men's England team.
Yeah.
Would Rishi Sunak, Prince William, the King, whoever be there?
Yes,
they absolutely would.
Yes, they would. Yeah.
And actually, I mean, I don't know Prince William's reasons for not going. I heard something on the radio today that he just apologises for not being able to get there. And I don't know what Rishi's doing on Sunday morning, to be fair.
Or count his money? I don't know.
Yeah, he might just be...
Trying to find some way to not pay taxes, something like that.
It'll be something like that. He'll be very busy looking at his wife's funds and how he's going to keep them.
Trying to figure out a way to take money from poor people and give it to rich people,
Oh, yeah, exactly that. And it was very interesting. So he was literally in my borough 2 days ago. And he attended and it's a scheme that a local community group do that is government funded around ensuring children get food during the school holidays. And he attended, and it's plastered all over social media with him colouring in with the kids and all this. And I made a comment, and I stick by my comment of, actually, this is really sick when you think about it, because he's going there to celebrate a community response to feeding children because his government have caused the fact that parents can't feed their children.
Correct.
The whole thing's ludicrous.
Obscene. It's obscene is what it is. It's gaslighting to the nth degree. It is defunding all of the things that we rely on in society and then blaming the institutions that he has defunded for not being able to cope. And it's their trick over and over and over again.
And it's really sad that a lot of the responses back were, yes, but, those children will go back to school in a couple of weeks having met the Prime Minister. And I'm like, are you not real? Your children's memory is, I had to go somewhere to feed me, to shake the Prime Minister's hand.
Yeah.
Who's caused us to have to go and use this service in the first place.
Right.
I mean,
and be on your best behaviour and don't answer back.
Yeah, I wish I would have been there. Anyway,
I wish you'd been there.
But yeah, there is something about, and we've had this conversation in our house today around, actually, if this was the men's World Cup final tomorrow, everybody would have been there. And I think it's quite damning. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a huge women's football fan. God help me, I'm a Nottingham Forest supporter. So that's, yeah. But
you have suffered enough, Helen.
I've suffered enough. I remember being in Scotland, I think it was last year when the Lionesses were playing and demanding they put the match on in a tavern in Scotland.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was a mistake.
Yeah, it went down really well.
Yeah,
but it's pride, and we're English or British or whatever, and they should be there celebrating that.
I'm not sure.
It's really telling that they're not attending.
Well, if it was the men's match and they did attend, I believe that they would be attending for the wrong reasons. They'd be attending because they want to suck up the free VIP treatment in one of the great spectacles on earth, and they would want to be covered in whatever glory they can by hanging about with people that are more successful and popular than they are.
And I think you're right. And I'd like to think, as a bit of a, as a female with an opinion, I'd like to think the Lionesses would make them go and have the cheapest seats at the back of the stadium and,
yes,
sit next to the likes of me with my Forest scarf and
I hope that they win, and then when they get invited around to number 10 for a photo opportunity, they make their feelings heard on a wide variety of political issues. And I'd like to see Rishi Sunak's grinning little face fall as they tell him how it is.
I'd like them to actually go one step further than that. When they get invited for the wee chat, I'd like them to say, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks for the invite. But,
but no. Yeah. But that would be a career suicide because the press would paint them as being unpatriotic.
Well, and patriotism goes too far in this country because we look at how we've gone down the lines of groups such as the EDL and, what it is to be English and all of those bizarre things. It's been taken to a different level.
Well, it's been twisted by people with evil intent, yeah.
Absolutely. And am I patriotic? I don't know. I still think I'm a member of Europe in my little head. I'm still a member in my head.
I'm patriotic because I want what's best for this country. But people who, okay, I'm going to say the B word, almost got through an entire show without saying it.
Go on, say
it. You know what? No. But there's a lot of people who vote for what is in their own personal interests, not what they think is in the best interest of the country. And then they have the nerve to complain to people like me that I'm not patriotic because I don't agree with them. Well, I think it's the opposite of that.
Incident is over the B word. The day of going to vote for the B word.
Yeah.
And two people came into the voting station as I was looking out, and the first lady said to me, "May I ask what you voted?" I said, "Yes, I voted to Remain." I said, "Do you want to tell me what you're going to do?" She went, "Yeah, I'm going to vote Leave." And I said, "Oh, right. Do you mind me asking you why?" She went, "I don't understand any of it, but it makes sense to have a change." So that was the first interaction. Then the second interaction went the same way with, "Okay, so why?" She went, "Stop these foreigners coming." Do you know what's made me laugh? So we lost a lot of staff in the NHS through Brexit. What's made me laugh is actually whilst we've seen a decrease in European colleagues coming over, we've actually seen a massive increase in people from countries like India and Asia.
Yeah.
Coming over, so you know the theory that these sausages have.
Yeah, if
worse, was it?
if that was the intention of those who voted to leave the EU, that white Eastern Europeans would be replaced by people from India and Pakistan, then I'm a Knickerbocker Glory with cream on top. Yeah. All right, thanks a lot, Ellen.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Come on, we're running late.
We are indeed running late. Let's go with Plymouth. Julie.
Hello, Nick. What's made you such a grumpy git tonight? Are you okay?
Not grumpy at all. Feeling fine.
Who upset you about this ball?
Eh?
Who upset you about this silly ball on a pitch? Why are you so upset about it?
Why do you think I'm upset? Is that an answer?
No, I think there's like lots of families looking forward to it, and it's let them enjoy it. Because it brings on some little girls that like to play football.
Yeah, but what is about my attitude going to stop them enjoying it?
Well, no, it's like because it's somebody said to you, or maybe you felt like you're not patriotic if you're not going to watch it. I'm not going to watch it. I might follow it on text.
Don't you love your country, Julie?
Not particularly at the moment.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah.
But I won't take that out on the lionesses, because I don't think they're actually involved in the reasons why.
I was very clear. I was very clear at the beginning of the show. I think it's great. I hope they have a nice time and they make a lot of money and they come back victorious or not. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me any more than the Hockey World Championships matter to me, or whether Sheffield United versus Nottingham Forest matters to me. Don't care.
I think it's like I grew up with four brothers, so like I tended to watch a lot of sport when I was young, even though I didn't want to, even though we had 3 channels.
Right.
But I do like sport myself, but I don't watch a lot of it anymore, and I don't go to see a lot of it live anymore. But
well, it's too expensive, apart from anything else.
Yes, it is, and I don't get the same pleasure out of it. But I like, I suppose we are a footballing nation, and
we're a cricket playing nation as well, and we're a rugby playing nation.
I like all the sport. I used to go and watch all the sports in all different venues, but at the same time, at the moment, I'm not really bothered. I've got other things going on. I'm probably more bothered about. I loved your last caller. Like Rishi's been over on holiday. Well, there's children in this country not getting
there's more important things to be concerned about,
exactly.
and instead of being corralled into supporting an event that you're not actually that interested in.
No, and you go cinema, you love the cinema, it makes you happy. I don't like the cinema, I find it too loud. So I just find the whole surround sound too loud.
I find people in the cinema too loud.
Throwing popcorn at you.
Yeah, well, just chasing that last bit of popcorn around and around and around, this drum that it comes in, it drives me nuts, those people, which is why I very rarely go to the cinema.
Do you not have popcorn when you go?
Oh, God, no. I mean, how hungry can you possibly be? You can't go an hour and a half without eating, for crying out loud. It's ridiculous.
It's not about that anymore, is it? It's about it's there, we'll have it.
Yeah, exactly. It's there. It's just grazing like a cow. Yeah, no, not for me. All right, thanks a lot, Julie. Gotta go. Nige texts, why didn't Rishi just send a boat full of refugees to Australia for the World Cup final instead? Suella could book the flights and accidentally forget the returns. Stopping the boats isn't really one of his priorities, is it? He's fooling us all.
The country's priority is to stop the boats.
Yeah, it isn't. The country's priority is not to stop the boats. And there's proof positive, and I've got it in my hand right now. The perfume princeling is always telling us that his number one priority is to stop the boats. Well, it turns out he's lying about that. Like pretty much everything else. And it's not our number one priority either. There was a survey by Ipsos. The number one priority is inflation and the economy, as you would expect. It's not stopping the boats. That is not the people's number one priority. Some damp desperates showing up in a dinghy is not our number one priority.
It's the country's number one priority.
It isn't. And, I just can't, I can't be bothered to get into it. It's just too painful. Yeah, no doubt we will get into that at some other point, because he will continue to try to persuade us that what is his priority is our priority, but it isn't. They don't even intersect. I was going to talk about Gillian Keegan. I mean, there was a message yesterday from a person called Clive, not that Clive, another one. I think Gillian Keegan's comments about exam qualifications are government policy. They need a poorly qualified workforce to fill all the low-paid, low-skilled jobs that Brexit's created. I mean, how else, says Clive. Yeah, exactly. It's exam season. And the kids are most upset that they didn't get an A star for just showing up on time. Many of them didn't get very good results compared to how they were doled out like sweets at a child's birthday party in recent years. So they were upset. And then came Gillian Keegan. You know Gillian Keegan, don't you? Yep, that's her. Gillian Keegan, the actual education secretary, sought to reassure students who didn't get very good results that no one will ask about their A-level results in 10 years' time.
What?
The education secretary said that. She said that educational achievement is essentially not important. Can you believe that?
No.
No. I mean, sometimes you have to stop and think about where we are, because none of this is normal. I know we've become to get used to abnormal things surrounding us.
I can't comment on that.
For instance, I mean, since him, it's all got a bit strange, hasn't it? And we've become almost inured to the strangeness, despite the fact that it seems to get weirder by the day. And now we have the spectacle of the actual blooming Education Secretary saying that educational achievement is not important. The Cabinet Minister claimed that future employers will have more interest in a job candidate's time at university or in the workplace rather than school or college exam grades. Hello? You won't get to university if you didn't get the grades you need. Can she possibly not be aware that the two are in some way connected? And this is not a small thing either. 19,000 18-year-old applicants have missed the conditions of their university offer. And the actual Education Secretary is telling them not to worry because the manager at the Greggs they'll be working in won't mind.
Oh, fabulous.
I mean, you can prize a moped out of the hands of a desperate pensioner and take their delivery job. Problem solved. It's staggering, isn't it? If I didn't know it had happened, I wouldn't believe it. I'd think you were making it up. Gillian Keegan, the Education Secretary, said, "Somebody asked me, what will people ask you in 10 years' time?" She said, "They won't ask you anything about your A-level grades in 10 years' time. They'll ask you about other things you've done since then. What you done in workplace, what you done at university." And then, after a period of time, they don't even ask what you did at university. It really is all about what you do, what you can demonstrate, and the skills that you learn in the workplace. And all of that's right. But the tiny flaw in that argument is that it's the exam results that will mark out whether you can get that job, where they don't ask you about your exam results in 10 years' time. In 10 years' time, you could be an architect or a labourer on a building site, depending on how your exam results turned out. In 10 years' time, you could be a highly qualified teacher or a totally clueless education secretary, depending on how your exam results turned out. I mean, that's the whole point of exams, to differentiate you in the workplace from the competition. Isn't it? But I suppose that's just a reflection on how the regime thinks of normal people and how they should be treated. Normal people should not raise their expectations above menial work for minimum pay. It's that high-wage, high-skill economy that we've heard so much about, and which is not where the regime are leading us. They get high pay. You get what you can and don't complain out loud, because that's illegal now. Making protest illegal is part of the regime's commitment to free speech. Everything is backwards. It's like every day is opposite day.
I am totally 100% on it.
Means he hasn't even considered doing anything about it. If he says
the country's priority is to stop the boats,
then it isn't. You can guarantee it. If he says it's his number one priority, it means he's had focus groups done and they came back with a small chance that we will elect another Tory government if they're cruel enough to foreigners. Because winning again really is their number one priority. It's their only priority. There is no number two priority. And when the actual Education Secretary was lightly roasted for being so insensitive about students' crying into their bubble teas and their chai lattes about their results. Gillian Keegan later defended her comments and rejected the suggestion that they were insensitive. Yeah, and up is down and black is white and every day is opposite day in Toryland. A bodge.
I followed the ministerial guidance at all times. I followed the ministerial guidance at all times. I followed the ministerial guidance at all times.
Yeah, sure you did. The actual Education Secretary said it's an important step to get to your next destination, but when you're a couple of destinations further on, there'll be other things they look at, she said. Yeah, and by destinations, she meant the list of deliveries you'll have to make by 8 p.m. Don't waste time, kids. You're on the clock. 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 You're on the clock.